Welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of He Was the Only One Who Didn't Regress, but still became the strongest player. You can watch the previous part on this channel. I put a link in the description below. Let's continue the story. Expressed surprise as Lee Hwa-young and a few others stood in the night forest, staring at the main character in fear. Someone called out his name, and he realized that it was convenient that they all regressed because they already knew who he was, saving him the trouble of explaining. Lee Hwa-young calmly smiled and blue system messages appeared beside the guys. The person with blue hair instructed everyone to prepare and they reached into the blue system message. They charged at the main character, wielding green whips. The blue system message indicated that the whips were goblin chieftain's whips, causing low damage but granting control over goblins. Lee Hwa-young activated the armor skill, turning his arms and neck black, and the whips wrapped around his limbs. The blue system message mentioned that he was changing the future, earning an extra point. They pulled on the whips, pulling the protagonist's arms in different directions. The guy with blue hair looked at the blue system message and took out a net. Lee Hwa-young was surprised by their immediate realization that they were no match for him, so they decided to restrain him with the net since their punches would be ineffective. Grinning, he acknowledged that it was a good plan and thought they were playing their roles nicely. Lee Hwa-young knelt down next to the bound guys, still grinning, and commented that it was a good attempt but a pity that it didn't work out. As a snarling wolf approached, several evil black wolves surrounded him. Lee Hwa-young asked why they were so angry, and the wolf's eyes glowed red while drooling. The main character questioned if this behavior was normal for them and asked the guys if they wanted to be a snack for the wolves. They pleaded with him, expressing their unwillingness and willingness to comply. With a serious expression, Lee Hwa-young asked them who the wolves growled at angrily. The wolves launched an attack on Lee Hwa-young. One of the wolves twitched, and Lee Hwa-young quickly rose to his feet, raising a black fist. The wolves scattered, and the blue system message indicated that he was changing the future, earning an extra point. The main character exhaled, and 2 blue system messages appeared, stating, "You change the future, plus 1 extra point." The guys were surprised and asked how this was possible. Lee Hwa-young explained that they had to remember it right away, and it seemed to apply to them as well. He stood there with a bloody black hand, surrounded by wolves. One wounded wolf lay on the ground. Dogs and wolves have similar elongated muzzles, and if you grab a dog by the muzzle and close its jaw, it will perceive you as stronger. Lee Hwa-young had learned this a few years ago while tracking smugglers. After being bitten by a guard dog, he grabbed its muzzle with one hand and stared into its eyes, and the dog never dared to attack him again. However, he realized that these creatures were not just animals, they were monsters. The wolf leapt and snarled at him, but the main character tightly held the wolf's mouth with his hands, exerting more strength and causing chaos to its muzzle. He crushed the wolf's face, causing blood to spill. The boys looked at him in shock, amazed by his strength. Lee Hwa-young thought that unlike goblins and orcs, werewolves had strong bones. He delivered a punch to the wolf's face. The boys believed that since they had regressed, they knew the difference in physical strength between a level 2 orc and a level 5 werewolf, but Lee Hwa-young's strength surpassed all limits. Several wolves observed the main character, surrounded by their dead companions. The guy in the black shirt asked why he didn't kill everyone. The main character calmly replied that he didn't need the gate to disappear just yet. When all the monsters died, the dungeon would collapse, and the gate would vanish. Lee Hwa-young planned to leave the dungeon as soon as he found the werewolf with the skill stone, as the players from the general guild were waiting for him outside. He remembered the person who commanded the rest of the crowd. If the gate disappeared, they would know that he had killed all the werewolves and taken the skill stone, and they would undoubtedly cause chaos in Korea to find it. To avoid this trouble, Lee Hwa-young decided not to kill all the werewolves but to quietly slip through the gate. 2 wolves with bloodied mouths growled angrily, and 3 wolves rushed to attack the main character. He looked at them with a calm expression and stated that it wouldn't be enough. In an instant, he disappeared from their sight and reappeared behind them, striking the 3 wolves, causing them to whimper and fall to the ground. Lee Hwa-young approached the terrified guys and addressed them. He explained that when the game began, rifts in space and time opened up all over the earth, releasing monsters that caused irreparable damage to civilization. Everyone knew that this marked the end of humanity. To combat this destructive force, a game system was introduced, requiring players to eliminate all the monsters in the dungeons. Apart from a small group of fanatics, religious beliefs had nearly vanished. A man in a black hoodie shouted that they accepted the will of the Lord and acknowledged humanity's mistakes, urging them to stop the game. People in green robes, hands folded, repeated after him, proclaiming their belief that goblins were divine messengers. Lee Hwa-young thought it was impossible for God or Buddha to send monsters that were previously only seen in games. While people were unsure of what to believe, a new faith emerged in the form of guilds. The crowd cheered for men with swords who emerged from a car, and someone shouted that the common guild was their only savior in this world. According to Lee Hwa-young's thoughts, he believed that he was correct in using the term faith. The guilds not only had fans, but they also had followers who considered themselves parishioners. This allowed the guilds to expand without any obstacles. They fought among themselves to gain control over the dungeons, as the items dropped by monsters could be used as an energy source or crafted into weapons, aiding in the clearing of the dungeons. Moreover, skill stones obtained from the dungeons could be sold to players for a substantial amount of money. In other words, owning a dungeon brought significant profits. Additionally, closing these destructive gates garnered public approval due to the immense destruction they could cause. Lee Hwa-young pondered that the guilds were a combination of business and religion. He inquired about who was in charge, and the frightened guy lying on the ground answered that it was Choi Chul-sung. The man stated that the person in charge was Choi Chul-sung. The main character repeated the name in surprise as he thought he knew it and had seen it on the statue next to his own. He asked if they were instructed to come for stealth. The dark-haired man responded in a startled voice that they were merely following instructions. The red-haired man frowned and questioned why he had divulged everything so easily, calling him a traitor. Lee Hwa-young paused for a moment, then sat down beside the red-haired man and placed his hand on his shoulder. His hand turned black as he squeezed the shoulder tightly, causing it to crack and making the boy scream in pain. The system message displayed that the future had been altered and the protagonist received an extra point. With a sinister grin and red glowing eyes, Lee Hwa-young asserted that he hadn't come there to joke around, rising to his feet. Thoughtfully, he repeated Choi Chul-sung's name, contemplating whether he was the head of the General Guild and one of the individuals who accompanied him to the last dungeon. The three statues in Gwangan Square were modeled after the three players chosen by the Korean representatives to enter the final dungeon. Lee Hwa-young acknowledged that Choi Chul-sung was an associate who went to close the dungeon with the main character. The main character recalled the report about the erection of their statues and realized that he couldn't consider Choi Chul-sung a colleague since they had never met. He pondered the fact that the person he once fought alongside was now attempting to steal his skills. Lee Hwa-young thoughtfully expressed understanding, recognizing it as human nature. He wasn't even offended by it and knew that the desire for personal gain is the driving force of progress. Calmly opening one eye, several black wolves appeared before the protagonist. He contemplated that after a few werewolves died, new ones would emerge, as the number of monsters in a dungeon remains constant. Since there were only 25 werewolves in this particular dungeon, new ones would appear at regular intervals to maintain the count. Lee Hwa-young deduced that they had arrived on time, and he wouldn't need to dirty his hands. Holding a net in his hand, he expressed the hope that Choi Chul-sung would forgive him for killing his men. The dark-haired boy pleaded fearfully with him. The main character threw the net towards the running werewolves, while a blonde-haired guy in a red sweatshirt came out of the portal with a grin. He and the other two individuals who emerged with him expressed surprise upon seeing the bloody head of their comrade on the floor. Lee Hwa-young realized that the limit of players in this dungeon was 5, and when those 4 died, the gate opened again to allow new players to enter. The main character, with bloodied hands and surrounded by dead werewolves, commented that he had completely forgotten. The system message beside him indicated that he had gained 93 extra points. 3 guys and a girl stood near the portal, looking at it in surprise. They charged swinging their green whips, but soon found themselves tied up and covered in a net, just like the previous group. Folding his arms across his chest, the main character asked which werewolf had the stone. The guy with the blonde hair replied that it was the one with white eyebrows. Calmly, Lee Hwa-young said, "Great," noting that these players were different from the previous ones as they didn't hesitate to answer. Walking on the ground littered with the bodies of humans and werewolves, he assumed that the writhing werewolves with broken faces and limbs, as well as the bodies of their comrades, demonstrated how to deal with him. He thought about the werewolf with white eyebrows and sat down on the ground beside the trembling creature. Lee Hwa-young tightly seized the werewolf's head, feeling it crumble with a sickening crunch while blood splattered around. He observed as the main character ruthlessly tore apart the werewolf's body using only his bare hands. The members of the General Guild trembled in terror, witnessing this gruesome display. Lee Hwa-young inserted his hand into the werewolf's carcass with a look of disgust on his face. Reflecting on Kim Min-soo, he contemplated the idea of training him as a skilled butcher to avoid such gruesome tasks in the future. From the remains of the creature, he retrieved a purple stone that granted a level 1 stealth ability, with its duration linked to his mana. During the discussion regarding the potential value of the stone, Lee Hwa-young pondered the true worth of power versus monetary wealth. Memories of his difficult past as an orphan and a mercenary flashed through his mind, reinforcing his unwavering desire for strength above all else in this new world. Determined to reshape his fate, he announced his intention to rewrite history, earning an extra point as the system acknowledged his decision. However, his attempt to utilize the stealth skill was thwarted due to his insufficient level, leaving him frustrated. With 102 extra points available, Lee Hwa-young chose to enhance his strength, raising it to a total of 289 plus 3. Fully aware of the dangers that awaited him outside the dungeon, including 100 hostile players eager to acquire the stealth skill, he meticulously planned his next steps. Contemplating the continuous summoning of monsters by the dungeon, he made the decision to spare the last one to prevent its collapse, allowing him to focus on eliminating the remaining threats. Utilizing his immense strength, he swiftly dispatched 3 werewolves, resulting in a level up and 3 additional points. At level 10, Lee Hwa-young unlocked the stealth skill, altering the future and earning an extra point. The main character, surrounded by dead werewolves, activated the stealth skill and witnessed his hand becoming transparent. He raised an eyebrow and questioned how he could utilize such a weak skill. The blonde-haired guy explained that as the skill level increased, his clothing would also become transparent. The main character inquired about the skill's level, to which the guy clarified that higher skill levels corresponded to increased power, and higher skill classes indicated greater strength. He added that as the main character leveled up, the stealth skill, being a rare skill, would become incredibly potent. The main character contemplated the fact that skills had actual levels associated with their names, recalling the descriptions of his own skills. Placing his hands on his waist, he asked if his clothes would become transparent once the stealth skill reached the second level. The blonde-haired guy, a guy in a green shirt, and a smiling girl confirmed that it was true. Lee Hwa-young removed his clothes, activated the stealth skill, and vanished, startling the guild members who noticed his disappearance. He believed that these players had come seeking the stealth skill he had obtained in his previous life and that they would gladly take his life if given the chance. Seeing the werewolves surrounding the guild members, who were tied up under the net, he saw no reason to spare their lives. The blonde-haired boy pleaded for mercy, while the guy in the green jacket shouted that they had revealed all they knew. Lee Hwa-young silenced them and, with a loud bang, the gate to the dungeon opened. Onlookers in the crowd exclaimed that the gate had opened once again, and someone asked if another person had died. Another person questioned who would enter next. Invisible and unclothed, Lee Hwa-young walked out of the portal, passing through the crowd and noticing the spectacle. He spotted Kim Min-soo among the crowd, placing his hand on his shoulder and urging him to level up. Startled, Kim Min-soo looked at the main character and exclaimed that he had used stealth. Lee Hwa-young gestured for him to be quiet, then asked if he saw a nearby taxi, pointing his finger in its direction. He instructed Kim Min-soo to go to the taxi, and Kim Min-soo nodded with a furrowed brow. Looking at his phone, Lee Hwa-young rested his face on his hand and stared at the screen. Kim Min-soo approached and told him to look at the phone's screen, where a video from a news release was playing. The person in the video expressed curiosity about Lee Hwa-young's appearance in the werewolf dungeon and asked why it was happening. Another person responded that there were various reasons, but Lee Hwa-young's star quality undoubtedly played a role. Perplexed, the main character asked what they meant by star quality. The bald man proposed providing an example from Lee Hwa-young's past life. He mentioned that right before entering the last dungeon, Lee Hwa-young boldly gestured with his middle finger towards numerous reporters, and people loved it. The man explained that they admired his fearlessness, considering him one of the strongest players who simply does as he pleases. Laughing, he suggested that this might be why people find him so intriguing. The girl asked if he meant to say that everyone is captivated by Lee Hwa-young solely due to his star quality. The man responded that there could be multiple reasons, but he believes that to be true. Lee Hwa-young smirked and commented that this guy knows how to speak properly. The girl mentioned that the chairman of the Players Skills and Technology Association wants to speak up, asking him to share his thoughts. A man with yellow eyes and white hair greeted them as Park Young-shik, the chairman of the Players Skills and Technology Association. He inquired if today's topic was about Lee Hwa-young's future actions and if there was anything else he could contribute. The girl asked for everyone's agreement, and the others in the studio confirmed their assent. She requested Park Young-shik to continue. With his eyes closed, Park Young-shik stated that, in fact, as soon as Lee Hwa-young arrived at the werewolf dungeon today, the game was already over. They expressed surprise and asked for an explanation. Someone advised him not to talk nonsense. The main character, taken aback, looked at the screen. The girl awkwardly smiled and requested clarification. The bald man frowned and asked him to avoid saying things that might confuse people. The man with dark hair questioned if he was saying that because no one needed it anymore. Kim Min-soo informed the main character that Park Young-shik was the influential chairman of the Players Skills and Technology Association, emphasizing that anything he said about players or monsters would be documented and reported. This is why everyone was surprised by his words. Kim Min-soo explained that, as all players regressed, the importance of the Players Skills and Technology Association diminished, and they no longer held a monopoly on information as they once did. Lee Hwa-young pondered how Park Young-shik remained serious despite the anger around him. Park Young-shik continued, stating that in collaboration with the General Guild, they examined the bodies of the werewolves and discovered that they all had identical wounds in the skull area. Crushed due to compression. He mentioned that werewolf bones are incredibly strong, and according to statistics, only level 40 players who have exhausted all their strength points can crush their skulls. A man with dark hair jumped from his seat and argued that a player of Lee Hwa-young's level could break werewolf bones with good equipment. Park Young-shik responded that the highest level dungeon currently available is the level 14 Blue Monkey Dungeon, and there are no stronger monsters at the moment. He explained that even if Lee Hwa-young obtained something from them, the power of his items wouldn't be sufficient to shatter the werewolves' skulls in a single strike. He began pulling something out from under the table, mentioning that he also wanted to believe that Lee Hwa-young possessed tools or equipment capable of granting him such an opportunity. He admitted that even after studying monsters for over a dozen years, he found it challenging to explain their injuries. He placed the werewolf's head on the table, prompting the man with dark hair to ask what he was doing. Startled, the girl screamed and covered her mouth with her hands. Park Young-shik expressed that the most intriguing aspect was that Lee Hwa-young merely poked the werewolves with his finger. He mentioned that despite studying dungeons and their inhabitants for over 10 years, he had never witnessed anything like it before. He described it as a distinct finger mark, approximately the size of a medium-sized one. A man with dark hair exclaimed that it was absurd. The bald man pointed at him and angrily exclaimed that his statement was confusing the players' minds. He demanded that the man take responsibility for his outrageous claims and resign from his position. Observing the phone screen, Lee Hwa-young thought to himself that all these individuals had their selfish motives. Those challenging Park Young-shik were people with power, occupying high positions in organizations related to players and possessing significant authority among players. These organizations included the Players Association, Guild Association, companies involved in harnessing energy from dungeon items, and companies producing player items and equipment. He believed that if it were true that he had killed the werewolves by flicking his finger on their foreheads, the morale, dreams, and hopes of the regressors would be completely shattered. He also believed that it was evident that the profits of companies associated with players and dungeons would plummet. Park Young-shik declared that the game was over. He stated that in this lifetime, Lee Hwa-young would once again become one of the final dungeon entrants and complete the game. A man with dark hair stood up and reassured the audience not to lose hope because they still had a chance to enter the stories. The girl asked if there was a connection between Lee Hwa-young showing the middle finger to the reporters before entering the last dungeon and killing the werewolves with the same finger. Leon raised an eyebrow and questioned what she was talking about and how she became a host with such intelligence. Lee Hwa-young thought that regardless of his actions, they were different from his previous life, and he always ended up gaining additional points. The only similarity between his past and present self was that both were considered strong, but apart from that, they were entirely different. The main character realized that the most crucial aspect at the moment was his level. He understood that regardless of how high his stats were, they were meaningless with a low level. Looking ahead with his eyes glowing red, Lee Hwa-young stated that he needed to level up as quickly as possible. He recognized that he had almost missed the opportunity to enter the werewolf dungeon and activate stealth because his level was too low. The fact that he was a level 80 player in terms of stats didn't matter at all. He acknowledged that if he gave up, the players would turn on him like wolves, seizing the opportunity to claim what was rightfully his. The main character regarded the level threshold of dungeons, understanding that if their level wasn't high enough, they wouldn't be able to enter and consequently couldn't acquire skills and equipment. He found the upcoming hunt to be dull and monotonous. Lee Hwa-young snapped his fingers and contemplated that the easiest way to level up now was by killing werewolves. Punching a werewolf, he thought about how he didn't go to the dungeon where he obtained stealth because no other dungeon in the world had this type of monster. He reflected on the initial satisfaction of crushing a werewolf's skull with his bare hands but admitted that he was already growing bored. The main character, Lee Hwa-young, and Kim Min-soo stood in the forest. Lee Hwa-young held a werewolf in his hand and expressed his boredom, stating that he would go kill someone else. Kim Min-soo disagreed, arguing that the current location was the best. He threw the werewolf to the ground. The protagonist inquired about the next dungeon, to which Kim Min-soo replied that the level 14 Blue Monkey dungeon was also open. However, Lee Hwa-young couldn't enter with his current level. Lee Hwa-young asked if there were any level 14 players currently in existence. He added that only 5 days had passed since the start of the game. Kim Min-soo expressed his belief that there were no such players. The main character thought that this was physically impossible, even if one hunted day and night without rest. He concluded that it meant no one could enter that dungeon. He informed Kim Min-soo that he could hunt blue monkeys without entering the dungeon. Perplexed, Kim Min-soo asked for clarification. The main character questioned if the blue monkeys would come out of the gate since there were no level 14 players. Kim Min-soo exclaimed in surprise, acknowledging that the Blue Ape dungeon, similar to the werewolf dungeon, had appeared too early. In the previous life, there were no level 14 players at this stage, and these monsters caused significant destruction. Lee Hwa-young placed his hands on his waist and remarked that it seemed that certain things couldn't be changed even after the regression. He believed that even if the players regressed and became stronger than in their previous lives, they couldn't alter the game's rules. Kim Min-soo warned that blue monkeys were formidable opponents. They were not only fast but also highly intelligent, capable of learning during combat. Observing the system message indicating he had 324 extra points, the main character acknowledged their abundance. He expressed that it didn't matter. Lee Hwa-young contemplated that his surplus of extra points equated to 108 levels. With no level 14 players currently, 108 seemed like an unimaginable number, a concept from an unimaginable world. Lee Hwa-young and Kim Min-soo entered the red portal. Lee Hwa-young believed that the strength of the monster didn't matter at all. He thought that even those who didn't awaken as players and hadn't regressed knew that the blue monkeys would appear there and cause colossal destruction. As a result, there wasn't a single soul present, not even other players. 6 days of regression weren't enough time in terms of comparison. Lee Hwa-young nonchalantly placed his hands in his trouser pockets, feeling a bit empty. Kim Min-soo smiled and pointed the way, informing him that he had seen blue monkeys before, even if only on TV, and they should not be underestimated. He mentioned that, perhaps because their level was higher than 10, they could use ranged attacks and learn from and imitate people. Upon hearing a car horn, Kim Min-soo remarked that it seemed like monsters were playing with cars. Lee Hwa-young questioned whether they were already outside the gate and asked about their characteristics, suggesting they were annoying with their speed. Kim Min-soo confirmed this, referring to a system message in front of the main character, which stated that he had 521 additional points. He advised applying the extra points to dexterity, and a blue aura enveloped him. The system message announced that additional points had been applied to the dexterity attribute. The subsequent system message displayed an agility of 578 plus 3. The main character swiftly dashed forward, shielding his hands from the powerful gust of wind. Kim Min-soo was taken aback by a sudden noise, prompting him to chase after the main character. Aware that he was only at level 3 and vulnerable to the monkey's attacks, Kim Min-soo urged caution. Meanwhile, Lee Hwa-young skillfully struck the blue monkeys on the ground, their level upgrades announced by a series of system messages. With a sinister grin, he grabbed a few blue monkeys by the tail and effortlessly hurled them into the air using his other hand. Kim Min-soo watched in astonishment as the main character effortlessly handled the blue monkeys. The monkeys attempted to retreat into the gate, but they were unable to do so. Lee Hwa-young realized that, Just like players being unable to enter a dungeon when the limit is reached, the monsters couldn't return once they left. Standing before the dungeon portal, he observed the blue monkeys with a mix of amusement and a red system message displaying. Lee Hwa-young believed that regardless of whether it was a human or a monster, the look of someone desperately trying to survive was always the same. Perplexed, Kim Min-soo questioned the situation, expressing his confusion about the intelligent blue monkeys now running away. In an angry laugh, Lee Hwa-young approached the monkeys and demanded to know where they were going. The monkeys trembled in fear, their mouths agape. The main character understood that in order to enter the dungeons that would continue to appear as the game progressed, he needed to maintain a high level. Falling below the monsters, dungeon level would mean the end of his life as a player, with the gap between him and other players growing wider. He opened the status window, revealing that he was now level 17, with various attributes and skills listed. Lee Hwa-young smiled slightly as he observed the status window, enveloped in a blue aura. Kim Min-soo expressed his surprise at the main character's rapid progression, questioning how he had reached level 17 in just 6 days. Lee Hwa-young, breathing heavily, brushed off the inquiry, acknowledging his exhaustion and the inadequacy of his stamina. However, he found solace in the fact that each level increase restored his stamina, even though it required killing more monkeys after reaching level 15. Determined to enhance his stamina, Lee Hwa-young allocated extra points to that attribute, as indicated by a system message. Wrapped in a blue aura, he stood ready to sprint forward. Angry blue monkeys hurled garbage at him, but he shielded himself with his black hands and continued his advance. Seizing a startled monkey by the tail, he proceeded to pummel the others with a malicious smile, declaring that anyone who dared to escape would meet their demise. Kim Min-soo expressed astonishment at the carnage, surrounded by the lifeless bodies of numerous monkeys. The main character paused, realizing that they were in an underground parking lot with minimal blind spots for the surveillance cameras. Glancing at the security camera, he acknowledged that their presence in front of the large red portal had likely been recorded. Kim Min-soo suggested destroying the gate, to which the main character inquired about the reason. Kim Min-soo explained that leaving the gate intact would result in the continuous appearance of monsters, making it a convenient farming spot. Moreover, destroying the gate would prevent higher-level monsters from spawning. Lee Hwa-young recognized that the blue monkeys were level 14 monsters and, as he approached level 18, it wouldn't be profitable to continue killing them. He asked for clarification, and Kim Min-soo responded that high-level dungeons only emerged after low-level ones were destroyed. Kim Min-soo added that expecting millions of people to collectively stop clearing low-level dungeons was impossible. The main character agreed, acknowledging people's inherent selfishness. He smirked, contemplating the implications that clearing more dungeons would make it harder for other players. Kim Min-soo concurred, noting that if the main character closed the level 14 dungeon within 6 days of starting the game, level 15 dungeons would begin appearing in a couple of hours. Lee Hwa-young expressed surprise and asked how Kim Min-soo obtained such information. Kim Min-soo revealed a website called The Games on his phone screen, explaining that it was a gaming community where players shared information. Folding his arms, the main character questioned whether Kim Min-soo relied on that as a source. Kim Min-soo confirmed it and mentioned that players posted details about the dungeons they cleared, including the fastest completion times. He also informed the main character that the Blue Monkey dungeon wasn't the only level 14 dungeon worldwide, as the Green Orcs were also at that level. Clearing either of these dungeons would trigger the appearance of level 15 dungeons. The main character wondered if there was already a level 15 dungeon since he was the first to clear a level 14 one. Kim Min-soo responded affirmatively, stating that it was located in Gwangju Jongyu. Curious, Lee Hwa-young asked about the time it took to clear the first level 15 dungeon in the previous game. Kim Min-soo replied that it happened 41 days after the game's launch. Suddenly, he exclaimed, and the main character inquired about the cause of his excitement. Kim Min-soo suggested creating an account and uploading their completion time, as they were the first to clear a level 14 dungeon. The main character questioned the purpose of the website, and Kim Min-soo explained that it was recognized by the World Players Association and served as an official ranking table. The rankings were determined by the order in which players cleared dungeons, and the top-ranked players received special treatment and awards. Lee Hwa-young speculated that the selection of players for the final dungeon might be based on these rankings. Grinning thoughtfully, the main character suggested using the nickname Fearless. Looking at his phone, Kim Min-soo informed him that he was already registering them, and the screen displayed, Republic of Korea, Level 14 Blue Monkey Dungeon successfully cleared on January 8, 1534, ID, Fearless. People in the comments expressed excitement that Level 15 monsters would soon appear. Kim Min-soo and Lee Hwa-young stared at the phone screen as comments continued to appear. After the game started, gate shelters shaped like stadiums with domes were built to protect buildings and the population from monsters. Ordinary people who hadn't become players sought refuge in these shelters when a gate appeared near their homes. A little girl asked her mother when they could go home, and her mother reassured her that the players would eliminate the monsters soon. The girl protested, having read on the internet that the gate was cleared 29 days after the game started and didn't want to wait another 18 days. On the high ground, a man announced that the Blue Ape Gate was gone and they could return home. Another person inquired about what he was carrying, as it hadn't even been a week, and it seemed implausible to get rid of the monsters so quickly. The man in the blue jacket sarcastically questioned if it was meant to be funny, leading people to throw garbage at him and tell him to leave. The screen behind him displayed a video of the main character battling blue monkeys, prompting surprise and questions from the crowd about the protagonist's identity. Someone mentioned that the monkeys were indeed dead, and a post appeared on the phone screen made by the main character and Kim Min-soo. Others noted that there was no account with the ID, Intrepid, in the previous game and speculated about the owner's identity. Nonetheless, someone expressed that it didn't matter and that the main character was their hero. Kim Min-soo and the main character walked along a tree-lined city street. Kim Min-soo mentioned that in his previous life, a level 15 dungeon was cleared 41 days after the game started, but it happened in Japan, not Korea. He disclosed that it was the Red-Eyed Horse dungeon and revealed that Korea also had a level 15 gate, but no one could clear it. The main character inquired about the type of monster they would encounter in their upcoming destination, and Kim Min-soo informed him that it was a giant bear. He assured the main character that they shouldn't have any problems with monsters below level 20 since they didn't use abilities. However, he cautioned that clearing the gate would take much longer once they started encountering higher level monsters. Kim Min-soo mentioned that according to information from the games, there was a 71-day gap between the level 19 and level 20 dungeons. Kim Min-soo asked if the main character thought that walking the entire 300 kilometers was excessive. Undeterred, the main character urged him to continue. Numerous system messages appeared behind the main character, indicating that he was altering the future and earning an extra point. Lee Hwa-young mentioned that every step they take is a separate decision, causing Kim Min-soo to clear his throat. Then, Kim Min-soo asked about the concept of changing the future. He asked the main character to imagine a scenario where he dropped his pen and someone else picked it up, and questioned if it would be considered a change in the future if he didn't drop it and no one picked it up. The main character awkwardly replied, suggesting that it might be a change. Kim Min-soo then wondered if that was why they were walking, stating that even the bugs they encountered and the plants they trampled on happened because they decided to go on foot. He exclaimed that walking itself changes the future. Suddenly, a red truck abruptly stopped behind them, and the driver angrily waved his fist, shouting at them that it was a road for cars. Kim Min-soo scratched his head awkwardly and apologized, asking the driver to continue driving. Lee Hwa-young walked up to the driver with a smile, and the driver asked if he was deaf and shouted that it was a highway as he drove away. The driver also asked what they would do if they got hit. Kim Min-soo sighed in relief, surprised to see that Lee Hwa-young had disappeared. The main character started running alongside the truck and asked the driver what the problem was and if he could overtake the car. The driver was surprised by the main character's response and the main character told him to calm down if he wanted to live. The driver obediently apologized. A system message appeared, indicating that the main character had changed the future and earned an extra point. The driver reflected that it had only been 9 days since the game started and even with all their agility points invested, a person wouldn't be able to run as fast as a car. He concluded that he was just imagining things. Lee Hwa-young thought it would be more useful for him to continue counting like this. He believed that because of him, the dungeons were opening at a different pace compared to his previous life, giving him the opportunity to increase the gap between himself and other players. He also thought that the memories of regressors become useless as soon as the future changes and that he could significantly influence this gap without regressing. He clenched his fist, thinking about level 20 monsters and the need to open the level 20 dungeon as soon as possible. He wanted to obtain a weapon that was only available to players of level 20 and above, which could drop from monsters of the appropriate level. In front of the main character, a huge bear appeared, growling loudly. Lee Hwa-young mentioned that monsters would start using skills from level 20. He punched the bear in the stomach, and the main character exhaled. There were 3 bears in front of them, and the main character remarked that they were strong. Lee Hwa-young dodged another bear's attack by jumping back. Lee Hwa-young then ran up the giant bear's arm and snapped its neck, causing it to fall to the ground. The main character grinned and mentioned that they were attacking one bear at a time, implying that it would take a long time to kill them all. The system message indicated that the main character's level had been upgraded and 3 additional points were awarded. It also stated that the future had been changed, earning an extra point. Under the main character's post on the game's platform, there were comments from other players. Some expressed frustration, saying that they couldn't defeat a level 16 monster in their area and wondered what they should do. Another commenter mentioned that the monsters that had destroyed their homes would soon reappear. Someone else questioned the legality of the situation, wondering why it was allowed. Kim Min-soo and Lee Hwa-young glanced at their phone screens, reading the comments praising a player named Fearless. One person speculated if it was Lee Hwa-young or Parkham's son, while another suggested it was likely Lee Hwa-young because they mentioned how he effortlessly killed a werewolf with a flick of his finger. Another comment consisted of random numbers and letters, and someone expressed their admiration for Kim Min-soo, saying, "Mr. Fearless, I love you." Kim Min-soo looked surprised as he read the comments on his phone. The main character asked what was wrong, and Kim Min-soo explained that someone had just cleared a level 16 dungeon. Lee Hwa-young inquired about the person who achieved it, and Kim Min-soo responded that it was Choi Chul-sung. The main character asked about Choi Chul-sung's level, and Kim Min-soo revealed that he was already level 16. The main character chuckled, recalling the statue, and commented that Choi Chul-sung seemed to have been waiting for the level 15 dungeon to be cleared before swiftly conquering the level 16 one. Lee Hwa-young grinned and remarked that someone interesting had finally appeared. Choi Chul-sung was known as the Poison King in his previous life and was the leader of Korea's largest guild, the General Guild. The main character mentioned that Choi Chul-sung was trying to steal his stealth and emphasized the need to be faster. The main character asked about the weapon Choi Chul-sung used in his previous life. Kim Min-soo replied that he didn't know its name but described it as a black dagger, jokingly referencing that if all the blood spilled by that dagger were poured on the ground, the planet would drown. The main character questioned why they were being so childish, and Kim Min-soo explained that it was a level 20 item, but there was only one level 20 monster in Korea, the Golden Leopard, which was a formidable creature. Lee Hwa-young smirked and sarcastically asked how many times he needed to say that it didn't matter to him. 2 posts appeared on the game's website, indicating the successful clearing of the level 17 Golem dungeon on January 9, 2111, and the level 18 Raging Ogre dungeon on January 10, 51. Lee Hwa-young inquired about the level 20 dungeon appearing right after the level 19 dungeon was cleared and its location. Kim Min-soo, looking at his phone, responded that according to the game, the level 19 dungeon was near Gangnam Station, and the level 20 dungeon was in Yong Park, in Bandung-jeonggi Province. The main character mentioned that it would take around 30 minutes to get there without considering traffic jams. Kim Min-soo commented that they would be fortunate if the level 20 dungeon appeared in an empty park. Lee Hwa-young smirked and stated that even if people were present, they wouldn't be able to interfere, and they could watch him retrieve his weapons. The main character checked the status window, which displayed his level as 21, stamina as 23, agility as 573 plus 3, strength as 289 plus 3, concentration as 1, and mana as 1. The system message confirmed that additional points had been applied to the strength attribute, bringing it to 1033. With his fist clenched, the main character confidently stated that he could now fight with his bare hands. Kim Min-soo responded awkwardly, system message indicating that the player's strength stat had exceeded 1000 for the first time. This achievement was called King of Power, and as a reward, the player received the petrification skill at the first level. This skill allowed the player to turn their opponent's body to stone for 3 seconds, with the duration of the effect being proportional to the player's strength stat. The main character pondered the system message thoughtfully and then directed a palm, surrounded by a blue aura, towards Kim Min-soo. The main character asked if he could move while under the effect of the petrification skill. Kim Min-soo clarified that he couldn't move and confirmed that it was indeed the petrification skill, which reached the power of 1,000. The main character remarked that Kim Min-soo always seemed surprised whenever he accomplished something. Kim Min-soo explained that it was amazing because he had just received the skill that Emperor Yang Zhang possessed. Lee Hua-young inquired about the Emperor, prompting Kim Min-soo to show him something on his phone screen with a smile. The main character noticed a lengthy list of records from their past lives, with the ID, Chinese King Yang Sun. The main character questioned why a person with the ID, Chinese King, was nicknamed the Emperor. Kim Min-soo clarified that the Chinese King was a legendary player who united all the players in China. The game had a separate section displaying dungeon sweeps from their past lives, and the ID, Chinese King, appeared in most of them, indicating that he was the first player to clear those dungeons. The main character realized that in his previous life, the Chinese King had cleared more dungeons than him. Looking at the phone screen, the player ratings were displayed, with the Chinese King ranked first and Lee Hua-young ranked second. Lee Hua-young mentioned that the dungeons he cleared in the past would definitely have items and weapons that he previously used. Kim Min-soo enthusiastically admired the protagonist's strength and remarked that it surpassed even top-tier players. Lee Hua-young playfully suggested that the main character should go to the place where the level 20 dungeon would appear and inform him of everyone present. He promised to join as soon as he cleared the level 19 dungeon in Gangnam. As they turned their backs to each other, Kim Min-soo assured that he would contact Lee Hua-young immediately if he noticed anything strange.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more content. Feel free to leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts or suggestions. If you want to stay updated on all our latest uploads, click the notification bell icon. And hey, why not check out some of our other videos popping up on the screen right now? If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really means a lot. Peace.